April 2, 2024, News Report 1. On April 2, 2024, Liberty Times reported that Taiwan's President-elect and Vice President-elect, Lai Ching-te and Siao Mei-chin, respectively, received a confidential briefing at the Ministry of National Defense. Afterwards, they visited the Hengshan Command Center to learn about the military situation in the Taiwan Strait. The Hengshan Command Center is the Joint Operational Command Center of the Armed Forces, equipped with advanced communication and video command systems that allow communication with ship captains and aircraft pilots in real time, as well as coordination with command centers of operational units to keep abreast of military dynamics. Currently, Taiwan's Air Force and Navy can transmit real-time updates of the People's Liberation Army's movements to the Hengshan Command Center. Lai and Siao also received briefings on national defense procurement projects and military construction projects. Senior officials of the Ministry of National Defense, including the chiefs of the three services, military police, reserves, and electronic warfare commanders, attended the briefing. As Lai is about to take office, he has begun various state-related activities. Meanwhile, former Taiwanese President Ma Ying-jeou continues his visit to Guangdong. After meeting with Song Tao on April 1, Ma visited the Wulin Combat Field in Shenzhen. Compared to last year, Song Tao's mid-trip meeting with Ma Ying-jeou and his full itinerary accompanying Ma indicate a special arrangement. On the morning of April 2, accompanied by Song Tao, Ma Ying-jeou visited BYD's electric vehicles, and in the afternoon, he visited the former residence of Sun Yat-sen in Suiheng Village, Zhongshan City. Ma Ying-jeou laid a wreath at Sun Yat-sen's tomb, expressing that Sun Yat-sen was dedicated to establishing a free, united, and prosperous China, and that both sides of the Taiwan Strait should cooperate to avoid war. During his speech at the Sun Yat-sen Mausoleum in Nanjing last year, Ma Ying-jeou mentioned the history and founding principles of the Republic of China many times. However, Ma Ying-jeou did not mention the Republic of China this time. The visits of Lai and Siao to the Ministry of National Defense's sensitive areas to inspect and receive briefings demonstrate Taiwan's maturity as a democratic entity, indicating that Taiwan's military is loyal to the country rather than individuals, which is distinct from authoritarian regimes. News Report 2. Deutsche Welle reported that on April 4, the World Bank released the East Asia and Pacific Economic Outlook report, forecasting China's economic growth rate to be 4.5% this year. This figure is slightly lower than the World Bank's previous forecast of 5.2% and the data announced by Premier Li Keqiang in March. The report pointed out that China's economy is currently affected by various factors, including the slowdown in economic recovery after the epidemic, high local government debt, a sluggish real estate market, population aging, and trade disputes, among other long-term structural factors. The report noted that China's economic growth over the past few decades has been mainly driven by investment in infrastructure, and real estate. However, with the increased adjustment of the real estate market, the problem of local government debt, and the decrease in investment returns, the expansion of infrastructure construction has been restricted. These factors have constrained China's economic growth. The report also pointed out that the World Bank's outlook for China's economic growth is subject to control by the Chinese government and can only serve as a verification of the data from the National Bureau of Statistics of China. News Report 3. On April 2, the US dollar index rose to 105, leading to a 4-month low for the Chinese yuan exchange rate. The yuan-dollar exchange rate hit a low of 7.2358 during the day and closed at 7.2293, down 61 basis points. Offshore yuan hit a low of 7.2661 during the Asian session and was quoted at 7.2607 at 9:30 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. The People's Bank of China set the central parity rate at 7.2661, down 19 basis points from the previous day. Traders pointed out that the Bank of China had intervened in the market to alleviate the depreciation pressure on the yuan. The improvement in U.S. economic data and the rise in the U.S. dollar index have increased the pressure on the yuan exchange rate adjustment, gradually approaching the lower limit of the trading range. News Report 4. Yantai Bai-Run Property published an article on its WeChat official account, Yantai Wanlin Enterprise Management Consulting Company, Limited, titled, Reflections on Yuliang Manipulating Bank for Private Gain. The author of the post is Yantai Bai-Run Property, a cooperative shareholder of Vank, who discovered issues such as Vank's misappropriation of funds, issuance of high-interest loans, and tax evasion in the cooperative partnership with Vank. The report was stamped with 10 official seals, including Yantai Yingsheng, Yantai Jichen, Yantai Yingtai, Yantai Hengchen, Yantai Mingdi, Yantai Bujiang, Shandong Qinyu, Yantai Qinji, and Yantai Wanlin. These companies are some of Vank's local cooperative shareholders in Shandong. Among them, Wanlin and Vank jointly established a coeducation real estate company, with Vank holding 57.2% and Wanlin holding 42.8%. Vank responded by stating that Yantai Bai-Run Property had posted malicious comments about them on the internet, which were seriously untrue, and reserved the right to take legal action. Industry insiders say that local small shareholders usually use land to enter project companies and then invest in Vank, giving them access to good land because these small shareholders have political and business relationships in the local area. However, now that the market is beginning to decline, there are problems in cooperation between the two parties. Small shareholders are more vulnerable to losses, so they continue to report. The report is certainly about both sides falling out over the division of profits. Vank's financial report released on March 28 this year showed that the company's revenue was 465.7 billion, a decrease of 7.56%, and the profit was only 12.1 billion, a decrease of 46% from the previous year. Vank is also facing a debt crisis, with issues related to Vank's debt spreading in the market over the past few months, directly downgrading Vank's corporate rating to junk status. Now, Vank's problems have become very tricky. News Report 5. On April 1, the White House issued a statement stating that U.S. National Security Advisor Sullivan and Philippine National Security Advisor Arnold had a phone call on the same day, discussing China's coercive, aggressive, and deceptive actions in the South China Sea. Sullivan emphasized U.S. support for the Philippines and reaffirmed the United States' firm commitment to the Philippines under the U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty. Arnold expressed his gratitude for the U.S.'s reaffirmation of the two countries' unbreakable commitment. Philippine President Marcos signed an order on April 1 requiring the government to strengthen maritime defense to coordinate responses to serious challenges. Previously, Marcos stated that the Philippines would take proportionate and reasonable countermeasures against China Coast Guard's behavior in the South China Sea. The latest incident occurred on March 23 when a Chinese Coast Guard ship and maritime militia fired water cannons at Philippine vessels near the Ayungin Shoal, injuring 3 Philippine boats. The U.S. bottom line is no casualties. Once casualties occur, the U.S. can invoke the Defense Treaty's provisions. News Report 6. Agence France-Presse reported that U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in France on April 2, marking his first visit to the country in 2 years. French Defense Minister Florence Parly also arrived in France on the 2nd and accompanied Blinken on a visit to the Nexter Group's base where the Caesar artillery is produced for Ukraine. Subsequently, French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian joined Blinken for lunch and held talks. French President Emmanuel Macron also met with Blinken, and the two discussed the war in Ukraine and the situation in the Middle East. During Ukraine's defense against Russian aggression, it faces issues of weapon and soldier shortages. France is a major supplier of weapons to Ukraine, while the United States has been a key military supporter of Ukraine. However, the U.S. Congress has not yet passed a $60 billion aid package. France advocates for a permanent ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The U.S. recently voted in support of a UN Security Council resolution calling for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas during the Holy Festival. Just hours before Blinken's arrival in France, Israeli warplanes bombed the Iranian embassy in Syria, killing 7 Iranian military advisors from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, including 2 senior Iranian commanders, Zaghari and Lamakami. This incident has escalated the situation in the Middle East significantly, and Iran is expected to retaliate. The U.S. news website Axios reported on April 1 that the U.S. deliberately informed Iran that it was not involved in the Israeli attack on the Iranian embassy in Syria. Additionally, Reuters reported that the U.S. and Israel held a 2.5-hour virtual meeting on April 1 to discuss Israel's actions against Iran. The U.S. expressed concern over Israel's actions in Rafah, but the two sides did not reach any agreement. They issued a joint statement after the meeting, stating that constructive contacts were made, with the common goal of defeating Hamas militants in Rafah. News Report 7. The South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff announced on April 2 that North Korea had launched a ballistic missile into the eastern sea off Pyongyang on the same day, flying more than 600 kilometers before landing in the waters between South Korea and Japan. The South Korean military estimates that North Korea launched a hypersonic missile this time. Typically, such missiles should fly for 30 minutes, but North Korea's missile only flew for about 10 minutes, so the South Korean military believes this test failed. This is North Korea's third ballistic missile launch this year. In January, North Korea launched medium and long-range ballistic missiles, which can carry hypersonic glide warheads. In March, North Korea conducted a large-scale rocket artillery launch exercise, covering the entire territory of South Korea. South Korean President Moon Jae-in said at a National Security Council meeting on April 2 that North Korea is trying to influence South Korea's parliamentary elections next week by launching missiles. Defense Minister Soo Wook instructed the South Korean military to guard against possible subsequent military actions by North Korea. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has protested to North Korea, saying that North Korea's missile launch has affected the security of East Asia and the international community. Japan will cooperate with the United States and South Korea to ensure peace and stability in the region. The South Korean Ministry of Defense stated that the U.S., Japan, and South Korea held a joint aerial exercise on the Korean peninsula on April 2, deploying nuclear-capable B-52H bombers and F-15K fighters, aimed at enhancing the ability to deter North Korea's nuclear threats. This is the third joint aerial exercise conducted by the three countries on the Korean peninsula this year, demonstrating their determination for joint defense against North Korea. News Report 8. The Central Commission for Discipline Inspection announced on April 2 that Tang Yijun, chairman of the Jiangxi Provincial Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, is under investigation. Tang Yijun was transferred from Minister of Justice to chairman of the Jiangxi Political Consultative Conference more than a year ago. It is said that the position of the Political Consultative Conference chairman is a dangerous one, and many people have fallen from this position. Tang Yijun, 63, is from Lixian, Shandong, and has worked in Zhejiang for a long time. He has served as the secretary of the Ningbo Municipal Party Committee, deputy governor of Liaoning Province, and Minister of Justice in 2020. Tang Yijun is an alternate member of the 19th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China. In October 2022, he was transferred to the chairman of the Jiangxi Political Consultative Conference after failing to be elected as a Central Committee member. Tang Yijun is an old subordinate of Xi Jinping, serving as the Secretary-General of the Zhejiang Provincial Party Committee when Xi Jinping was the secretary of the Zhejiang Provincial Party Committee. Despite serving as Minister of Justice for only 3 years, Tang Yijun was suddenly transferred to Jiangxi and failed in the election, leading to speculation of possible corruption. The sensitivity of the Minister of Justice position should not be underestimated, as the Ministry of Justice recently stopped the minister from signing lawyer certificates. Some analysts believe that Tang Yijun's downfall may be related to Xi Jinping's previous anti-corruption actions. News Report 9. Reuters reported that Google recently reached a settlement in a case involving the invasion of user privacy. A group of U.S. users filed a class action lawsuit in 2020, accusing Google's Chrome browser of failing to protect their privacy in incognito mode and tracking their browsing history. These users accused Google of misleading them and violating their privacy. Google agreed to delete Chrome user data and browsing history up to December 2023, totaling billions of records. Google also agreed to inform users of future updates and will block third-party cookies to prevent external websites from tracking users' browsing data. This measure will last for 5 years. The settlement agreement does not involve compensation, but the court allows users to file individual claims. Currently, more than 50 cases are in line for individual claims, but the class action lawsuit does not involve compensation. News Report 10. According to data released by the Japan Tourism Agency, tourists to Japan spent 5.3 trillion yen last year, equivalent to $329 billion, setting a new record. The highest spending places were Taiwan, China, South Korea, the United States, and Hong Kong in that order. In terms of per capita spending ranking, Australia ranked first, with Australian tourists being the most generous in Japan. Spain ranked second, and Italy third. This indicates that Western tourists are more willing to spend money, while Asian tourists may be more thrifty. News Report 11. According to a report published on the website of the National Development and Reform Commission, NDRC, Zheng Shanjie, the director of the NDRC, chaired a large-scale symposium on equipment renewal and the exchange of old consumer goods for new ones on April 2. The purpose of this symposium was to promote consumer demand by updating existing equipment to create market demand. The symposium was attended by the heads of 6 private enterprises, including JD.com, Midea, Haier GE, and Yadi Jilingmiai. Zheng Shanjie pointed out at the meeting that the NDRC will promote the electrification of automobiles and the renewal of kitchen and bathroom equipment in the next step to stimulate consumer demand. These measures are aimed at promoting market vitality and driving economic development. News Report 12. According to a report by Xinhua News Agency, China's first National Data Work Conference was held in Beijing on April 1 and 2. The conference revealed that 31 provinces in China have established data agencies, including 26 independent agencies and 6 branch agencies. In March last year, the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China and the State Council issued a reform plan for data agencies, and in October last year, the data agencies were officially established. The data agencies are managed by the National Development and Reform Commission and are responsible for data management. The conference proposed 8 major tasks for this year, including strengthening data supervision and promoting data security assessments. These measures reflect China's continued tightening of data supervision.